Hello Fairview Tigers, and welcome to another episode on the Speaking of Fairview YouTube channel, a channel dedicated to sharing with you what's up with the Tigers as they focus on academics, athletics, arts, and acts of service. I'm Anna Januso.
And I'm Corey McCall.
And today's episode will be called Fairview Human Services Academy, as we will be interviewing Mrs. Jablonski, the advisor of FHS's Human Service Academy. Here's our interview with her.
To start, our first question is, could you just describe what the Human Services Academy is?
Yes. So the Human Services Academy encompasses all of the career pathways that lead to jobs dealing with people. So it could be anything from teachers to social workers to people who work in HR and businesses, police officers, members of the clergy. So it's pretty much encompassing. There's many areas that kind of fall within where you would work with people, but all it is about is just what you can do for people, helping people, using your interpersonal skills to help people.
So some like the other academies, it seems like there's like some overlap. So do you think like the Human Services Academy could prepare someone for like a career in the medical field or like a STEM related field or something like that too?
Absolutely, because I think that you can find very few jobs that you don't interact with people or deal with people at all. And all this pathway is kind of an emphasis on those jobs that do deal primarily with people, like teachers, where even though STEM, I mean, we have Mr. Burt and Mr. Bookhammer, who obviously that's kind of their career path, but they're still working with people. Business, if you would look at a member of business, even an accountant, they're going to sit there with you and they're going to help you do your taxes and things such as that. So I think that it's probably one of the ones that overlaps even the best, because there's not too many areas where you don't work with people in whatever job field that you go into.
Yeah.
And then for the next question, what experiences would a student have in this particular academy? And then we know that Preston Ross got credits at Gannon through the academy. Are there any other experiences like this one?
So we have some kids that want to be lawyers, so they are meeting with lawyers and talking to lawyers in different fields. There's business lawyers, there's trial lawyers. It's just kind of whatever area that they want to go into. But yeah, Preston, it was the first time that we did this. We are offering a class through Gannon. It's an introduction to education because we're a school, so we're actually able to get people into classrooms like Preston and also teach the course. So going to Gannon, he is able to waive one of the classes that he needs to be a teacher, and it's completely free, and it will show up on his transcript, and so that's a free class that he doesn't have to pay for, which is really exciting, especially going to college. I know how expensive it is, so getting a free 3-credit class that you need for your major is just really exciting.
Mm-hmm. And then what requirements does one need to have to in order to be in or like stay in the academy?
So the requirements are that you need, I think, a 3.0 GPA. You have to have teacher recommendations, and it's not necessarily looking at that you have to be super strong in any one field. I mean, it's not math driven. It's not one of those fields that's specifically content driven, but you need to have a good moral character. Your teachers have to recognize you as a good person, somebody who's willing to help others out, just because that's what the human services field is. It's all about working with people and things such as that. So it's really strong personal skills are things that you need. Good social skills, being kind, things such as that.
I know this is kind of a broad academy and it covers a lot of fields, but like what classes would you encourage members of this academy to take?
Public speaking is a big one, so I know that this is for public speaking class, but I mean, when you're working with people, I talk to people all day long. So that's a really important one. Anything English related, because even working in the human services field, regardless of where you're going, there's a lot of bookkeeping, record keeping. My brother's a social worker, and so he's doing paperwork all the time to talk about like what he's doing with his clients and kind of having that log. So I would say English classes, anything communication-wise, writing-wise, things such as that are really important. So I would really push people towards, and honestly for any job, English and being able to write well and concisely is really important.
Mm-hmm. And then how has the pandemic affected the academy?
It has made things really difficult because I had all these grand dreams of getting people out all the time in all these different classrooms, and obviously with our schedule this year, starting remote and then going hybrid, it's hard to get everybody to see all these different classrooms that we're in just because classrooms are full and having extra bodies, there's issues with it. But also getting people out in the community, and instead of being able to go and see a trial going on or meet with somebody face to face, everything's having to be virtual, which I think it kind of takes away some of the uniqueness of this program and just getting people out in the workforce, getting kids out to see what's out there. Do I like this job? Do I not like this job? Is this something that I can see myself doing for the rest of my life? It's very different when you see that in a Google Meets or a Zoom setting compared to actually if you're there shadowing somebody face to face.
I think there's definitely some overlap with like the Health and Science Academy, because I didn't realize this academy is a lot of shadowing too. And then this is another general question, but like, what do you hope students will get out of the academy?
I hope that it helps people figure out what they want to do, whether they decide that they really like the human services field or not. I think that just figuring out what you want to do, whether it's college or not college, whatever it is. So I think that leaving here, everybody should have a plan and not go to college just because they think that that's the next step, or not go to the workforce because they don't know what else to do. I think that having a plan and having an idea, and even if you apply to be in the human services pathway and we get you out in some job sites and talking to some people that actually work in those fields, and you're like, this isn't for me. Maybe I don't like kids as much as I thought I did, or maybe I don't really want to deal with people's problems all day. I think that's almost sometimes more beneficial than it is if you're like, oh yeah, it was a great day, I loved everything I did, because that really helps you rule something out. And I mean, when you're talking college, you're talking $100,000. I mean, that's a house that you could buy, and going for an extra year and even an extra semester is just, it's crazy to just go without knowing what you want to do with it. And I mean, I know, I have a lot of friends that they don't use their college degrees at all, or they've had to go back and get different college degrees, or it's just, or they're working in a field where they didn't even need a college degree, but they're still having to pay back those loans. So I just hope that not just my academy, but all of the academies really help people, students like yourself, decide what they want to do and what's going to help them get there.
And then how many students do you usually like induct into a cohort, and like what are some areas that the students in the academy right now are interested in?
So I have some students right now that are in law, education. We're hoping to build that program up a little bit more and get more kids that want to be interested in teachers. I don't know, I know we talk about this a lot as a faculty, but there's actually a huge teacher shortage that's coming up through. We haven't seen it a ton at Fairview just because this is people want to work at Fairview, but some of the other schools that maybe aren't as elite as Fairview is, they're struggling to fill positions. At some point that's going to happen to Fairview. So we really want to build that program and make that bigger so we can send our graduates that want to be teachers and just kind of work them through the program.
And then that was actually our last question, so thank you for your time today.
No problem, thank you.
Thank you.
This is now the end of the show. So to wrap up, if you're an FHS student, please think about if you would like to join this academy. Finally, I would like to give a big thank you to several people and apps that have helped make this podcast possible, especially our honors public speaking teacher, Mrs. Stevens, our principals, Dr. Lane and Mr. Bell, for giving us the opportunity to make this type of project, the app iMovie for enabling us to put together this podcast, including allowing us to use its music, our interviewee, and you for listening to this podcast. I'm Corey McCall.
And I'm Anna Januso.
On the Speaking of Fairview YouTube channel. I hope you'll join us next time for another episode as we continue to highlight the academics, athletics, arts, and acts of service here at Fairview High School.